So my previous video was a little bit of mischievousness on my part. I can't help it, guys. But this one's now popped up. Another takeover rumor. But I wonder if this one's got a bit more legs. Let's get into that. Anyway, if you're new around here, do us a favor. That little button below you that says subscribe, click that. Doesn't cost you a penny. And we don't have any of your personal details. And it helps to grow the channel. It takes a second of your time. Also, while you're there, click the thumbs up. And why not put a comment in the section below so we can get your thoughts out there into the big wide open for all the subscribers of the channel to have a little look at. Talking about subscribers, in the last 28 days, there's been about 60% of you guys that have watched the content but are not subscribed. If you could click subscribe, really would help the channel out. Thanks very much for that. So, obviously, there's been a lot of talk for quite some time now about takeovers and one thing another at London Stadium. I think most West Ham fans would like to see some sort of change in the ownership structure at the top of the club. David Sullivan is quite an unpopular character, and there's about a quarter of the club, there or thereabouts, that's up for grabs. David Gold's shares, the former co-chairman who's passed away nearly 2 years ago, there or thereabouts. His family want to move the shares on. That's fine, no problem. There's been various things about, is Daniel Křetínský maybe going to do this, that, and the other? It doesn't look like he's going to really increase his stake. He's got 27%. He's the second majority shareholder. And my understanding is that after David Sullivan, the next person that's got an option on the David Gold shares is Daniel Křetínský. Well, David Sullivan's not made a play for them, and neither's Daniel Křetínský. If he did make a play for it, he would become outright the majority shareholder because he got 27%. If he buys the Gold shares, that's 25%. You do the maths. He becomes 52% shareholder in the club, and he owns, well, not owns, but he's the majority shareholder. He would become the chairman. Probably what stops it is the fact that he's also the Sparta Prague chairman, whatever. I don't know. But anyway, so there's 25% of the stake of the club that's up for grabs. Now, Amanda Staveley. Who is Amanda Staveley? I'm sure most of you know perfectly well who she is. But for those of you that don't know, Amanda Staveley used to be involved in Newcastle United. She was involved in bringing the Saudi Arabian money, the PIF, which we all know is basically Mohammed bin Salman, the ruler of Saudi Arabia. He is essentially, effectively, the owner of Newcastle United. PIF took over Newcastle in 2021, and for a period of time, she was their figurehead, if you will. She was the face of the club. And then about a year ago, there or thereabouts, her and her husband, who were both there at the same time, said they'd sold their Newcastle shares and went on their merry way with a good few bob in their back pocket, I think it's fair to say. Now, prior to this, she's actually got a little bit of form in Middle Eastern takeovers at clubs because she was also involved in the purchase of Manchester City by Sheikh Mansour. £210 million purchase. Seems like a bargain now, doesn't it? In today's money. So she's got a little bit of a track record in getting stuck into Premier League clubs and instigating takeovers and one thing and another. Now, the story goes that Tottenham Hotspur were the subject of a bid by Amanda Staveley about Christmas time last year to take over a controlling interest in Tottenham Hotspur. Joe Lewis, not interested. Not interested in relinquishing control of Tottenham Hotspur. Fair enough, no problem. But there's a whisper doing the rounds that the next club that's on the radar, if you will, of Amanda Staveley to possibly look at making a play for another Premier League club is us, West Ham United. Now, How would you feel about that? Because there's a lot of people that, with all the Middle Eastern sports washing, I think is the term, where you have Saudi money, Qatari money, whatever, going into all the different sports. I mean, it's going into Premier League football around the world, in point of fact. Goes into boxing. You notice a lot of the big money fights now are in the Middle East. They're even getting into sports like cricket and various other things besides. There's this sports washing is the term, where, because obviously there's quite a bit of human rights things going on in Saudi Arabia, where it's to curry favor with the rest of the world, to sort of make the image of Saudi Arabian people and Middle Eastern people, who some people might have a little bit of a view on, and try and make it a little bit more positive. That's the thing. But how would you feel? Amanda Staveley, obviously very well connected with Middle Eastern movements and whatever, as I say, brought in Sheikh Mansour into, or was part of bringing Sheikh Mansour into Manchester City back in the day, was part of the consortium that brought the PIF, which essentially is Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia, brought him into Newcastle United. And for a period of time, she was there as the, I don't know if her role was chairwoman or managing director or chief exec, whatever. She was essentially, when you thought of Newcastle United in terms of a boardroom capacity, she was the first person that you saw for about 2-3 years. She's obviously moved on, as I say. There's a few quid burning a hole in her back pocket. Spurs have knocked her back. Is she going to make a play for another London club that's up for possibly a little bit of a change behind the scenes? Enter West Ham United. How do you feel about it? Would it be something you'd be happy with? Or are you one of these people that you look at the Middle Eastern money getting involved in sports, Premier League football, and if it was to come into West Ham United, you might have a little bit of a problem with that? Yes, you want Sullivan out. Yes, you want change with the stadium. They've obviously got very deep pockets, and when money talks, you know what tends to walk. But how do you feel about that? Would that be something that would sit right with you? It's happening at other clubs. Why not West Ham? That's the question. Amanda Staveley, would you be happy with her coming into the club and maybe instigating some sort of change? If she goes for the gold shares, 25.1%, maybe she might start to make a move to snaffle up a few shares elsewhere. Trip Smith with 8%. Okay. Well, that would take her 33.1%. And then maybe she might do a deal with Daniel Křetínský to take a quantity of his shares and maybe sort of push it above the level that David Sullivan's got of 38.8%, I think it is. Who knows? It's an interesting one. I mean, there's a lot of news a lot of rumours swirling around about Amanda Staveley might be interested in taking over West Ham United. At the minute, there doesn't appear to be more than just a rumour. But you never know. There could be conversations going on behind the scene that we're not party to and that might come out in the fullness of time. But what do you think? If there was some Middle Eastern money coming into the club, from a moral compass point of view, where do you sit? Are you happy with that? Or would you be sitting there going, that's not for me? Success and development, but not at any cost. What do you think? You've got a comment section below. Get stuck into it. Don't forget, click subscribe. Doesn't cost you a copper coin. Takes you a second of time, and we don't have your personal details. Also, don't forget to click the thumbs up, because that's what sparks the old YouTube algorithms to shoot this stuff out there and get it out there to places it otherwise wouldn't get. It really would help the channel out. Last I looked, we're on 1544 subscribers. We can push that number up. That would be much appreciated. Anyway, that's enough from me. Amanda Staveley to West Ham United. What do you think? Get your comments in the section below. And I'll see you next time, guys. Stay safe. Come on, you irons.